when you're adding more responsibilities and more expectations and more
More,
stressors,
yeah,
then
more.
our environment cannot have the same capacity it used to. Our minds cannot hold the same capacity. It's that distress tolerance. So,
Yes.
as there's more stress or responsibility placed on me, I need less of my environment to add to that stress. I need more systems to help with that stress and that management, so it isn't overburdening and overwhelming. Welcome to Reframe and Reclaim. We are Courtney Huckabee, a psychotherapist,
And Jen Harris, an interior designer
who have teamed up to reflect,
challenge,
and reframe your mindset in relationship with your personal belongings. Find the reframe.
start your reclaim. Okay.
Hi, and welcome back to Reframe and Reclaim. I am Courtney Huckabee,
And I'm Jen Harris.
and we're here to talk about International Day of Happiness. We're so excited to celebrate happiness. Who doesn't love feeling happiness? And spreading happiness in the world is what we all need.
Yes, it's my number one value on my test taking. So it
Really,
is being
happiness and
happy.
joy. I love that. And so we're here to talk about happiness, and this was all brought about in 2012 by the United Nations, trying to support, to foster, and to nurture happiness in everybody's daily life. And so we're here to talk about what brings us happiness and how our book, Reframe and Reclaim, came about because of happiness.
Yes. So, uh, one thing that makes me really happy is charcuterie, as everyone knows. But organizing is also something that brings me so much joy. And if someone's like, "Hey, I have this pantry," I'm like, "Oh, I'm so excited! Let's reorganize. Let's go through." I have been known to have an idea at 11 p.m. at night and then go reorganize my linen closet. I have been known to randomly reorganize a drawer as I'm supposed to be cooking dinner. So sometimes
Organizing.
sometimes it can hinder other accomplishments or other goals, but overall, that's
What
something
brings you
I
joy?
it does bring me so much joy. And actually, I was just talking to my husband the other day how I can remember in third grade at Christmas is when I started asking for like home decor items for Christmas. It's like I want a desk lamp, and would take like cereal boxes and turn them into magazine holders, and like
Very
it's yeah,
resourceful. I
but
love
it's
it.
I was always rearranging the furniture in my bedroom, much to my mother's chagrin. But yes, it's
Hmm.
always been there. So,
Yes.
what about you?
I love so many things. So many things
Yes.
bring me happiness. I love friend time. So being with Jen, being with my other friends and family is really important to me. But one of the things in our book that we talk about a lot are 7 steps. And as a young child, just like you, I really grew to loving like a neat and clean space. And so it
Mm,
was really ingrained in me that a clean space was a hostable space, was a space for people to come, and we would always clean before we had guests over. So for me, cleaning a house means my home is ready for people to come over and enjoy it. And so I love cleaning, and with your organization and my joy for cleaning and helping people and being around people, we were really able to put both of our joys of and happiness into creating maybe some helpful things for other people.
yes. Yeah, we make a good team. We balance each other really well, I think, because I really love like the layout and the assembly and the disassembling and putting it all back together and the problem solving and
When it's disassembled, I want to clean it
yes. So we
up.
tag team. I'm demoing. She's going in and cleaning.
Yes, we're a very good team in that manner. The yin and the yang.
Yes. And another thing about our book, I know we kind of joke about the cleaning and all that is the happy place, and but kind of how it all came about, or one of the things was really looking at our things and were these items in our home adding to our satisfaction at the end of the day, or was it hindering it? And so really me being honest with myself of like what items are in my home, why are these items in my home, and how are they helping me to with this current chapter of life, and how are they helping me achieve the goals that I
Hmm.
want to achieve. So
Yes, and I will say, as we've written this book, and as we have researched this book, we're actually applying and practicing it in our own lives. And I will say, there was an old chapter of me who would say, you know, I will keep all the things because one day I might need them, and I will keep all the things because they're useful and it's not broken.
Mm-hmm.
But what it was is it was actually creating more stress and overwhelm for me. And so as we started coming up with these 7 steps and applying them to our own lives, we found that we're actually more joyful and happy now with different things. How we invest our time and what we have in our homes has shifted our mindsets a little bit, which has helped us create systems
Yes.
that create happiness in our lives, have created, you know, ideas of how we want our space to look and feel and function, which has created more joy in my life. And you know, as 2026, the International Day of Happiness is coming, they're really focused on social media and how social media can impact happiness. And so, us being on Instagram and Facebook and LinkedIn and podcasting, we really want to impart some happiness, some strategies to bring you joy in your home and to your family as well. And we all know that social media is something that's very prevalent in so many generations and lives. But a lot of times, social media can be kind of that impetus of comparison or feeling of dissatisfaction.
Yes, 100%. And I know, like, I felt it with, and doing all the posts for even like Reframe and Reclaim. It's like, are people actually seeing this? And what is this algorithm? And is it going all these places? And, you know, other people have X amount of followers and, you know, going into that kind of imposter syndrome kind of thing. But, you know, we're really doing this as our own self exploration and our own, um, again, like Courtney said, how it's making our lives flow and function and be more happy. And so it's really, we're putting the information out there. If it resonates with you, fantastic. Um, if it doesn't, then you'll find someone else that resonates more, and that's okay too. There's plenty of space out there for all of us. So that's been a big reframe is
Yeah. And
for me.
again, this book really came out of an act of love and
Mm-hmm.
and self exploration for Jen. That's how it started. And I came in just to kind of support and help and come up with some normalizing of everything that she was experiencing. And honestly, all of the excuses that I've talked about in the book and she's talked about in the book, many people have experienced, but it does take a lot of self reflection
Yes.
to do this. And as we write this book and we share the content and we ask you to get involved in your own lives, it's hard sometimes. It's overwhelming. It feels like a burden. And we all know everyone has their own process, but we still want to encourage you with information and strategies and tips, and sharing our passion for happiness and how it's helped us to hopefully nurture some happiness in your life too.
100%. If everybody was happy, the world would be a happier place, right?
Wonderful. Yes. Why can't we all just be happy?
I will say, you know, going back to the book that you mentioned earlier and our spaces and how that can influence our happiness. You know, one thing I wasn't realizing was how much of a negative effect my environment was having on me. And a lot of that really came about, I guess I could say, I just didn't see it until I had kids, right? So whenever I was single or even married without kids, you know, I still had seemingly so many more hours in the day, right? But it's like I had control over my time, I had control over my day, my goals, and what was going to happen, right? So if I had excess stuff in the corner or whatever, it's like I know I will get to
One day.
this weekend,
Yeah.
right? And it's I still had enough brain capacity. And then once children came along, and between the sleep deprivation and the changing schedules, and nothing goes as planned, like all the emotional weight of the things that wouldn't bother me before and the tolerances I
Yes.
had for stuff went way down
Yeah.
because I just did not have the brain capacity to handle anymore. It's like I just needed everything to be as smooth as possible.
I think a lot of people experience that in different chapters of life, whether
Mm-hmm.
you're becoming a new parent or you have a parent who you're now supporting in a
Yeah.
different way. When I think a lot of people in our generation are in that place of chapter of life where our parents are needing more support. When you're adding more responsibilities and more expectations and more
More.
stressors,
Yeah.
then
More.
our environment cannot have the same capacity it used to. Our minds cannot hold the same capacity. It's that distress tolerance. So,
Yes.
as there's more stress or responsibility placed on me, I need less of my environment to add to that stress. I need more systems to help with that stress and that management. so it isn't overburdening and overwhelming.
And I think this is also an excellent time, as we're talking about, you mentioned like sandwich generations or people who are caregivers to their parents or have aging parents or people downsizing. One thing to really go through and something that helped in my family is talking to my mom about these items she had in her home and why
Mm-hmm.
is this important? Why does this
Mm-hmm.
item make you happy? Why are you holding on to this? And she did the work too. Like she has gone through her items and really curated a collection of her home items that she loves and you know um, have has really special meanings to her. But being able to ask her those questions of why is this important, now I have an understanding. So when she passes,
Yes.
I can then decide have an educated understanding of why this item was kept. Whereas before I might have been like, "What is this?" Just check it instead of like, "Oh, this is something that your great grandmother brought over from
Mm-hmm.
Ireland, and this is why I kept it." And we have also have had communications and understanding where if it's something that the kids don't want, she's fine with us. She's like, "I'll be dead. It doesn't matter if you get rid of it, but I'm going to enjoy it while I'm still living
It
and while
brings
it's
her
my home."
happiness now.
Yes,
Yes. And I think, those conversations can be stressful and
yes,
uncomfortable, but I think the more you communicate and understand like your parents' history and
mm-hmm.
the things that bring them joy and the things that are valuable and important to them, it gives you more understanding of who you are as as their child and part of your family history. And so I think it can be really helpful for both the parent who's aging and needing
Yes,
more support and the adult child who's trying to navigate this new chapter of life with their aging parent, to really understand what brings you happiness, how can I support your happiness and your new chapter of life, but how I also need boundaries
yes,
and to make sure that I'm not feeling obligated to take
or
on more
guilt. Yeah.
responsibility than I can or have capacity for.
And I think too with increases in dementia, and increase in Alzheimer's, and people losing those memories, being able to have those conversations and people still have those cognitive abilities will then allow you, if you have to downsize them, if you have to move them somewhere, you will know what's important to them. You will know what items to keep and what can kind of be stored or go to the wayside. So I'm very grateful that I've been able to have those conversations with my mom because it will make it easier later on.
Yeah, and for my mother-in-law, we have experienced some cognitive decline,
Hmm.
and we have moved her closer to us so we can have more time with her and support her more. But that was a big conversation that we were forced to have because of her medical condition. We moved her from one city to our city, and she wasn't quite ready for that change. But in the move and when we had to make that decision for her health and her care, we were able to say what's most important. How can we make this most comfortable for you? How can we make this a happier transition
Hmm.
for you? And we were able to keep a lot of her things in storage, and we bring it to her for her to decide when she's ready to part with it, or when she wants to display it, or when she's ready to pass it down to somebody else. So that's been a really beautiful chapter for us to be involved with, and me to learn more history about my husband's family, and so I can pass it down to my children, and it can be a beautiful way for us all to be more connected when we have those conversations.
For sure. And then if you are the parent, the aging parent who is going to be downsizing your home soon, or you have a house full of things and you're overwhelmed by it, like think of your kids, like after your passing, they're dealing with the grief, they're dealing with,
It's so
funeral
hard.
plans, they're dealing
It's
with
so
all
hard.
these other things. And then there's a layer of what am I going to do with all this stuff? What do I do? Like, what is this? So I think the more you can have these conversations with your kids, the more you can work through your own relationship with your belongings and your own emotional hindrances, or figuring out what brings you joy in displaying those items.
Yes.
The easier all those transitions will be.
Yeah, and every chapter of life, whether you're a young adult, a teenager, if you're watching us, how awesome! I hope we're cool. Or if you're a new career person, or just getting into adulthood, or transitioning into retirement. Every chapter of life brings new things that bring you joy and happiness. We want
Hmm.
everyone to live in a chapter of life that does bring you joy. And if things in your home aren't bringing you joy, what decisions do you need to make? If there are things you need in your life to bring you joy, how can you incorporate that? And so, Reframe and Reclaim really came out of a joy of, our family heritage
Hmm.
and background and wanting to honor our families, but also wanting to honor ourselves in our own lives and chapters, and really reflecting on what brings us the most joy, what brings us the most satisfaction, and how to make sure we're connected in all of that.
Yes.
Yeah.
So as you think about items in your home, look around. Which items are bringing you happiness? Is there an item that's not displayed that you really love, but just haven't found the right place to put it? Like pull it out, see where you can hang it up, and really enjoy the items because they tell your story, right? They tell where you've been, maybe where you're going. It's all integrated into sometimes your self identity, into how you move in the world. So I encourage everyone to make your environment as happy as possible because sometimes traffic's real bad and it's real chaotic out there and you just want to come home to your little sanctuary and look at the things that make you happy. So,
Definitely. So we want to encourage you create happiness in your life, whether that's with things or people you want to surround yourself with, or activities and events. So I'm wishing you an happy international
woo!
awareness day, and we'll be thinking of you if you have things that you use in your home or habits that you have in your life. Let us know. We want to know what brings you happiness and joy
And if this podcast brings you happiness
too.
and joy, be sure to like, subscribe, and share with those that you think it will also bring joy to as well. So, take care, everybody.